Magnificent and mysterious ancient finds are the topic of this video, and we'll be paying special attention to discoveries and objects made from solid stone. Our ancient ancestors were incredibly gifted at working with stone, but some of the things they made are a puzzle to our modern minds. Let's see if we can unwrap some of these ancient mysteries together. Ireland is often referred to in the United States of America as the Old Country, but the history of human habitation of the Emerald Isle goes back even further than most people imagine. We know that because of archaeological sites like Drumbeg Stone Circle in Roscarby. The site, which is also sometimes referred to as the Druid's Altar, is considered to be the Irish equivalent of Stonehenge in England. There are 13 megaliths standing there today, although it's believed that there were once 4 more. Dating stones is difficult for archaeologists, but the radiocarbon testing carried out on human remains uncovered at the site has proven that it was in use at least 3,100 years ago. As is often the case with stone circles, the site has been laid out in alignment with the movements of the sun, in this case matching the winter solstice. Traces of human occupation are littered across the surrounding terrain, including what's left of ancient homes and what appears to be a kitchen facility. Even with so many examples, we still don't know what sites like this were used for. Were they a calendar, a focus for ritual activities, both, or something else entirely? Multiverses are all the rage at the moment, thanks to the Marvel movies and Facebook's pursuit of the metaverse. So, what better time to take a look at Crawick Multiverse in Scotland? This beautiful site might best be described as a Celtic cosmic work of landscape art. The stones used in its construction are ancient, but we've actually cheated a little by including Crawick Multiverse in our list, because it's relatively modern. This art project was commissioned by the Duke of Buccleuch, who wanted to make good use of an abandoned cast mine on his land. He hired the famous artist and sculptor Charles Yanks for the project, and this is what Yanks came up with. It's a system of chamber cairns built in the Neolithic style, surrounded by stone circles. The arrangement of the stones is based on the Milky Way and the galaxy of Andromeda, spiraling towards each other. The amphitheater is said to represent an eclipse, and the corkscrew path that links it all together is the multiverse. It's high-concept stuff for what's basically a large-scale garden feature, but it's undeniably beautiful. The Crawick Multiverse isn't the only place you'll find out-of-place ancient stones in Scotland. There are also the London Links Standing Stones, which stand in the middle of a golf course in the town of London Links. This is thought to be the oldest women's golf course in the world, but the standing stones have been here for far longer than the golf course has. There are 3 of them, each of which is between 14 and 17 feet tall, and most historians believe they've been standing here since the Bronze Age. Dating stone is almost impossible, but it's safe to say that the sandstone giants have been here for closer to 4,000 years than 3,000. There used to be a 4th stone, but it went missing during the 18th century and was never seen again. Long before the 18th century, it's likely that there was once an entire stone circle here. It's likely that the stones were used by local druids during pagan practices. But then again, historians have a habit of saying that about stone circles, and there's no way of knowing what those pagan practices might have involved. If you're brave and fit enough to go walking in the Buzău Mountains of Romania, you'll eventually find the so-called Caves of Ancient Giants. They're not far from the village of Nuku, and they're so named because the residents of Nuku generally believe that the caves in the mountainside here were created by giants who lived inside them thousands of years ago. Many of the caves are ruined, but there are some that have survived the passing of time so well that they look almost as if they were carved last year. 15 caves exist at the site in total, giving the location the appearance of something from a fairy tale. The dreamlike quality of the caves is enhanced by the fact that they're covered in green moss. Archaeologists and historians aren't convinced by the stories about giants. Instead, they think it's likely that the caves were used by early Christians who came here as refugees at the end of the 3rd century. However, the catch is that the caves already existed by then. There's some evidence that people lived inside them during the Bronze and Iron Ages. The secret of who created them has been lost to time. The Hill of Esenach isn't literally the center of Ireland, but it's the symbolic center of Ireland, and as such, it's treated almost like a sacred place. The hill would be a beautiful place to come and spend some time, even if it wasn't covered in stunning rock carvings. The panoramic view it offers over the surrounding countryside is phenomenal. The top of the hill has been thought of as a special place since time immemorial, which is why it's visited by New Age pagans every year as part of the Celtic festival of Beltane. The stones on the hilltop are a protected Irish national monument, but the origins of the ruined structures are uncertain. Some of them are thought to be medieval, but others are said to be prehistoric. Historians say that the Hill of Esenach has been a focus of human activity for more than 5,000 years. If you ever find yourself in the vicinity of the hill and fancy a guided tour, be sure to call upon the services of the live-in bard. Not only does he know where all the most impressive carved stones are, but he also knows every legend and superstition associated with the place. Ireland is an ancient country full of fantastical legends, so we'd like to show you another incredible location in the Emerald Isle. If you wanted to see the largest collection of engraved megalithic art in the world, you'd have to visit Nauf in Drogheda. There are more than 400 engraved construction stones and curbstones at the site, dating back to the Neolithic era. The quality of the engravings varies from stone to stone, but among them are some of the finest examples of the practice anywhere on the planet. While they might look like little more than lines, circles, and squares to the untrained eye, archaeologists and historians believe that they might be representations of the lunar cycle. American researcher Martin Brennan even believes that the most elaborately decorated stones are calendars and sundials, representing attempts to reconcile the cycle of the moon with the cycle of the sun. Of all the stones at the site, the basin stone of the east chamber of the megalithic tomb network is the most impressive. Based on its size, it's likely that the rest of the chamber was built around it. The engravings on this special stone must have a particular significance. If only we knew what it was. The name of Pente del Inca in Luján de Cuyo, Argentina is a little misleading. It translates into English as Inca's Bridge, but the Inca didn't create the bridge. It might look like it was made by human hands because of its bright colors, but they're a product of the mineral-rich hot springs further up in the mountains of the Andes. However, the Inca did create the stone structures carved into its sides. Geologists tell us that the bridge began as a glacial valley, which left behind mineral deposits. The glacier turned into a river when it melted, and the water carved through the deposited minerals, leaving the arch behind and creating the colorful display we see here in the rocks. During the early 20th century, Pente del Inca became a health spa, and so a small village grew up around it, complete with a church and a hotel. Most of those buildings were semi-destroyed by a spring flood several decades later, but the real tragedy of the flood is that it weakened Pente del Inca so badly that it's no longer safe to walk across it. Our grandparents would have been able to stroll across this natural bridge, but all we can do is look at it. At some point in the distant past, our ancestors might have been fond of making enormous stone balls. On the other hand, perhaps the stone balls were created by nature rather than nurture. This is the mystery of the Vulgrod Balls in Russia. Enthusiastic amateur scientists and local residents of Volgograd have had a lot of fun speculating about their origin, with ideas ranging from dinosaur eggs to alien artifacts. They're made up of a complicated mix of sand, metal, and silicon, which makes most of the theories behind naturally occurring spheres difficult to apply here. You've probably already guessed what the straight-laced scientists of the world would like us to believe about them. They're nothing more than concretions formed over millions of years of pressure and weathering, and there's nothing unusual or special about them at all. However, concretion wouldn't explain the presence of silicon or much of the metal. Aside from the metal and silicon, there's another issue with the concretion explanation when it comes to the Vulgrod spheres. Where concretions have occurred elsewhere, they've formed in a range of sizes and spread over a wide area. Why are these spheres a similar size and so close together? When Latvian Edward Līdzkalnis was rejected by his fiancée on the eve of their wedding, he set off to heal his broken heart in America and prove to her that he was capable of achieving something with his life. When he arrived in America, he contracted tuberculosis, but claims to have healed himself with magnets. That would sound like an outlandish claim until you consider his most incredible achievement: building the Coral Castle of Florida. The castle, made of oolite limestone, was a lifetime's work for Līdzkalnis. Modern engineers would need powerful machinery to arrange stones of this size in such precise and artistic formations, but Līdzkalnis worked alone, demonstrating skill so precise that not one of the thousands of tons of rock here has moved an inch since he put them together almost a century ago. The eccentric builder took the secret of how he built the castle to his grave, telling visitors only that he'd discovered the secret behind the construction of the pyramids and used the same method. Local witnesses claim to have seen him moving the rocks around as if they were light as balloons, and some even say he used psychic powers to lift them. The city of Tulsa in Oklahoma is not the center of the universe. Everybody knows that. However, there is a concrete circle in the middle of downtown Tulsa that the locals like to refer to as the center of the universe. This isn't your average stone circle or art installation. If you stand right at the center of the circle and make a noise, the sound of whatever noise you make echoes back to you far louder than it was when you made it. It's like standing in an echo chamber, but the chamber has no walls. The circle is open to the air, and so the echo effect ought to be impossible. What's even stranger is that while noise ripples back to the person in the middle of the circle, it's almost inaudible to anybody outside the circle. It's said that you could let off a foghorn in the middle of the center of the universe, and nobody walking past would be able to hear it. The effect is known to scientists as an acoustic vortex, and is thought to be caused by sound reflecting off a circular wall nearby. However, the wall is well outside the circle. There's no proof that the wall is connected to the enigma, and so the strange goings-on in the middle of the circle remain unexplained. We've already been to Florida once in this video, and now we're going back there to check out the Miami Circle. Even some of the people who live in Miami aren't aware that this mysterious prehistoric series of holes exists in their city. It was completely unknown until a building project in 1998 uncovered it during an archaeological survey. The 24 holes, arranged in a circle with a diameter of 38 feet, were found to contain human teeth and prehistoric tools along with fragments of burnt wood. Through radiocarbon dating this wood, we now know that the holes were made around 2,000 years ago. This is the only evidence of a prehistoric culture building a structure or monument into bedrock in the entire United States of America. We can only guess who made the circle and why, but the most common theory is that it belonged to the Tequesta Indians, who used tools similar to those found at the bottom of the holes. That's far from certain, though. 2 of the axe heads recovered from the Miami Circle are made from basalt, and there isn't a natural source of basalt in Florida. These days, the holes are filled in with soil and grass to preserve what lays beneath. Sardinia might have more prehistoric monuments than any other place in Europe. There are said to be 10,000 different ruins from the Nuraghi period of 3,900 years ago in Sardinia, but they're not as interesting as the Domus de Janus. The name translates into English as fairy houses, but the intent of the Italian phrase is better understood as witches' houses. Archaeologists have been busy studying these mysterious ancient lodgings in the first few months of 2022. They've proven for the first time that they were made by a pre-Nuragi culture known as the Ozirie, who lived here 6,000 years ago. They were centuries ahead of their time when it came to agriculture and metalworking. So the fact that they could carve such relatively impressive homes directly into rock faces so many years ago doesn't surprise the experts. Inside the most elaborate and well-preserved of the houses, you'll find murals and paintings, many of which are concerned with fertility. Some of the houses have multiple rooms and include familiar items like vases and figurines. It looks like they lived a little like us, albeit without electricity and sanitation. Subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and enjoy watching new videos on my channel. Thanks for watching, and see you soon!